All right, let's get straight into this because there have been some very interesting developments around Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Royal Lodge. And for once, this is not just rumour quietly swirling in the background. Just yesterday, a large removal van was spotted entering and leaving Royal Lodge, the 30-room Windsor property Andrew has occupied for years. That sighting alone raised eyebrows, but what followed has made it clear that this move is no longer theoretical. It is actively happening. For a long time, it was assumed Andrew would cling on to Royal Lodge until the very last possible moment. Legally, that could have taken him all the way through to October, when he would be obliged to leave the Crown Estate property. Instead, it now appears he wants out within weeks, and possibly even before his birthday on February 19th. That shift in timing has surprised a lot of royal watchers, especially given how drawn out and resistant this situation has been from the start. So why is he really leaving Royal Lodge imminently?
One of the big news stories of the day, and it never goes away, Prince Andrew. Page 7 of The Sun today, Andy removal vans finally turn up at Royal Lodge as Sky is plugged in at Sandringham. All the important things are very...
According to a friend who spoke to The Sun, Andrew has finally accepted that he needs to move on. The source said he has decided to get on with his life and start afresh by the end of the month, or at least before his birthday. What is particularly striking is the suggestion that this move represents a clean break, not just from Royal Lodge, but from the life he has been clinging to there. For the first time in almost 20 years, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson are expected to go their separate ways in terms of living arrangements. While they have been divorced for decades, they continued to cohabit at Royal Lodge, presenting a strangely united front that often confused both the public and palace observers. This time, it appears that arrangement is coming to an end. It is a level of preparation that tells its own story. This is not a temporary stopover. Everything points to this being a long-term relocation. The contrast with Royal Lodge could not be sharper. Royal Lodge is a sprawling historic residence set within Windsor Great Park, complete with extensive grounds and a sense of grandeur that suited Andrew's status for many years.
Things are definitely moving fast ahead of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's eviction from Royal Lodge, literally. Because as our exclusive video and photographs show, a white, unmarked removal lorry has arrived and driven straight through the gates of his 31-room mansion this morning on Wednesday, January the 14th.
The farmhouse at Sandringham is far more modest by comparison, and symbolically, it represents a significant step down. Andrew, now 65, has stayed silent throughout this latest chapter. There has been no personal statement, no clarification, and no attempt to control the narrative from his side. Instead, the details are emerging through sightings, sources, and the visible movement of belongings. The removal van sighting is particularly telling. You do not bring in a large van unless serious packing is underway. This was not a single piece of furniture or a minor delivery. It looked very much like the beginning of a full clear-out. What has also become clearer is Sarah Ferguson's role in all of this, or rather, her absence from it. While Sarah lived with Andrew at Royal Lodge for years, it is believed she will not be joining him at Marsh Farm. Instead, she is reportedly looking for her own property in the Windsor area. How that search is going remains unclear, but the intention appears to be firm. That separation alone marks a major change. For years, their continued cohabitation fueled speculation about finances, convenience, and mutual dependence. Living apart suggests a new phase, whether by choice or necessity. It's also worth noting that Sarah's situation has been very different from Andrew's.
The enormous truck, believed to be a removal lorry, headed straight to Royal Lodge, where presumably Andrew's exit is moving apace. Andrew agreed to hand back his 75-year lease in October after intense pressure due to his sex abuse scandal.
She has continued to work, publish, and appear publicly, while Andrew has largely withdrawn from view. Separate homes could reflect very different futures ahead. There is also the question of timing. Andrew's apparent desire to move before his birthday feels deliberate. Birthdays often act as psychological milestones, especially later in life. Starting the next year in a new home, away from Royal Lodge, may feel like drawing a line under a long and increasingly uncomfortable chapter. Some had expected Andrew to delay as long as possible, perhaps hoping circumstances would change or pressure would ease. Instead, this accelerated move suggests the opposite. Whatever conversations have taken place behind the scenes appear to have left little room for delay. The Crown Estate aspect cannot be ignored either. Royal Lodge has been a point of tension for years, with questions around maintenance costs, lease terms, and who should ultimately reside there. While Andrew's supporters argued he had a right to remain, others felt his continued presence was untenable. Now, with boxes apparently being packed and vans coming and going, that debate is effectively over. Visually, the story almost writes itself. A 30-room mansion being emptied, a farmhouse being hurriedly refurbished, security cameras being installed, and a television engineer ensuring the signal is strong enough. These are the quiet, practical details of a life being downsized. And then there is the human element.
I used to live in that area. As we know, he's going to Sandringham, to Wood Farm. It's been updated, there's fencing and all this sort of stuff. We didn't think it would be this soon. Do we believe he's actually on the move at last?
Well, no, things are literally moving very fast for Andrew at the moment.
Leaving a home you have lived in for years is never simple, regardless of status. For Andrew, Royal Lodge represented not just a residence, but a reminder of a former role, a former life, and a former position within the royal family. Moving to Sandringham is not just about bricks and mortar. It is about accepting a new reality. As for Sarah, establishing her own household again will also mark a shift. Windsor has long been her base, and staying in the area suggests she wants continuity without sharing a roof. What happens next remains uncertain. The exact move date has not been confirmed, and Andrew has given no public indication of his plans once settled. Will he retreat further from view, or attempt some form of quiet reinvention? At this stage, no one is saying. As for what Andrew's future actually looks like once he is settled at Sandringham, it appears likely to be quieter and more constrained than at any other point in his adult life. He no longer carries out public duties. He does not appear at major royal events unless absolutely unavoidable, and there is no indication that will change. Friends have reportedly described him as resigned rather than hopeful, aware that this move marks a permanent shift rather than a temporary setback.
It ended months of what was dubbed the Siege of Royal Lodge. He was given, in theory, a year to clear out, and palace insiders say due to the complexities of the move, best estimates mean it will likely take until Easter in April before he is completely gone.
Living on the Sandringham estate keeps him within the royal orbit, but firmly on the margins. It suggests a life focused on privacy, routine, and staying out of the spotlight, rather than any attempt at rehabilitation or public return. Sarah Ferguson's position, meanwhile, remains complicated and not without controversy of its own. Over the years, she has faced repeated allegations relating to unpaid debts, financial mismanagement, and strained relationships with staff. There have been reports, according to former associates, of wages being delayed or bills going unpaid during difficult periods, as well as claims that her spending habits often did not align with her income. None of these allegations have resulted in legal consequences, but they have contributed to a long-running narrative of financial instability that has followed her for decades. Even now, as she reportedly searches for her own home near Windsor, questions remain about how sustainable her independence will be without continuing support behind the scenes. So I want to know what you think. Do you believe Andrew is genuinely ready to move on and start a new chapter? Or do you think this move has been forced by circumstances catching up with him? And what do you make of Sarah choosing to live separately after all these years? What sparked this change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this interesting, please consider subscribing for more royal family news and developments.